Welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market Garden Shorts Field Trips. Now, technically, we are in the test gardens, and I'm freehanding the camera, so don't mind the jiggle vision. We're talking about this tree up here. Its scientific name is Ailanthus altissima. Altissima meaning tallest. Ailanthus, it definitely ails the crap out of everyone. This plant is an invasive. It is a complete and utter waste of biological material. I can find no useful uses for this thing, and I don't know of anybody else who has either. This tree originally came from China and Taiwan and started being used in the United States in roughly the 1980s. I know whoever decided that was a good idea meant well, but geez, I'd like to slap that person for that. Now, by tallest, from Latin, it's called that because this tree can get up to 50 feet tall in less than 25 years. Which is really fast, but this comes at a price. The wood is soft, like softer than pine, which makes it, well, crap. But it has biological mechanisms to avoid shattering like Bradford pears do. At least Bradford pear wood can be burned and be used for other things, but this, not so much. So there's a cluster of these garbage trees, which is what my grandmother used to call them, and I completely agree with this term, or tree of hell. The common name is tree of heaven, but it's nothing heavenly about this thing. Well, anyway, let's get into the nuts and bolts of why it sucks. First and foremost, this plant produces copious amounts of seeds, of which there is roughly a 90% germination rate. Of course, that's if you're trying to cultivate it, which who the hell would, because it's a crap tree. Unlike a lot of other trees, like pines and oaks and maples, this tree has very soft wood, which makes it very flexible, which means it's less likely to take damage during a storm, unless something else hits it and breaks it. Its young branches, its side shoots like these ones here, which I'll zoom in for your benefit, these ones, likely have a pith core. Now, pith, not just for helmets anymore, is an interior material that you will find in some trees and tree branches that basically is spongy by nature, and I could go into a complex biological explanation of what it does, but basically what it is it's an alternative material and energy saving strategy to make rigid branches. The outer section of the branch, there's a thin layer of wood, there's the pith at the center, and then there's the living layer on the outside, or the actively growing / living layer, so to speak. Now, on other trees, you have the heartwood, which is solid wood all the way to the core, the cambium, and all that stuff, and then the outer bark. On these trees, not so much. There are about 4 different ways that plants actually make rigid branches. Some are hardwood to the core, some have hollow air spaces, like bamboo, some have pith, and some are solid green all the way through. That would be herbaceous plants. This one has a pith in the center. Now, part of the problem with this tree is that when you cut it up, it reeks like rancid peanut butter, though some people say rotten cashews, or, in my opinion, I refer to it as hot garbage. It's unpleasant, and when you burn it, it's worse, which is the problem. If you're going to use it for firewood, it's shit at that. And you really don't want to cook over it as firewood. You just don't. Let me show you one of the other problems with it. We're going to walk across the test garden here. Lily bed. Here is the big problem. Zooming in. You see those? Those are clone offsets. The roots of this tree, when they detect new sources of moisture and nutrients, will do this crap. They'll produce exact duplicates of the parent tree and crowd out everything else. They'll also produce allelopathic chemicals that stunt or discourage, particularly stunt, the growth of other plants so that it can take over and form a colony of, well, literally itself. And Attack of the Clones, anybody? Here they are. Now, these things are vulnerable to herbicide, which is great. You can knock them out, but the collateral damage sometimes isn't worth it. This one was by itself, and I bombed the bejesus out of it. Yeah, up yours, tree of heaven. These ones I'm going to have to hand pull out of this bed that's being slowly recovered. I'm planting sedum in there and prickly pear in the hopes that it'll colonize since it's a dry zone, and these plants can withstand that. This thing's going to keep trying, and I'm going to have to keep pulling, and that's the problem. These plants are very persistent, and that is why they're rated as an invasive all over the United States. They're a major problem because, again, they can screw up native ecosystems. Now, as I may have mentioned before, these plants originate from China and Taiwan. They made their way to Europe, and then they made their way here. Someone meant well, but didn't do the research, which kind of reminds me of how Bradford pears got here. Go figure. If it's well controlled where it came from, it might not be well controlled where you take it to, and that's why you need to do studies. But anyway, as I said before, these plants have no value. Their wood is so soft that I don't think you can really craft anything with it. It smells awful, and I don't know how long that smell lasts, but you're probably, to seal it in, you're probably going to have to varnish the heck out of it. Multiple coats. Multiple coats. You can't burn it. You certainly don't want it anywhere near your food. And, worst things worse, these plants spread like wildfire. They're literally considered an invasive everywhere. And so, if you see this tree, kill it quickly. It doesn't even cast good shade. It serves no good useful purpose. Its only perk that I can think of, and normally I can find a bright side to everything that's equal to the bad stuff, is that maybe it'll grow where nothing else will, but it'll take over, so measured steps. Anyway, that's all I have for you in this short little video, so I hope you enjoyed this field trip. As always, folks, keep them growing, hit the like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.